Given the existence of power, love is resistance. Given the existence of privilege, love is solidarity. Love can also be personal pain transformed into social good. It is the energy we need to sustain us through the frustration of trying to create change. Given the existence of inequality, love is liberation. Given the existence of harm, love is redress.
Somebody said this morning that love is the opposite of fear. But actually, when I talk to social workers about how they engage with families around domestic abuse, they respond talking about their fear to do so, to make the situation worse, their fear of the person who's caused the harm, their fear of what that will do to children. And it feels that leads to an inaction. What I think families are being told by our systems is that if you have somebody in your family who is perpetrating any form of violence or abuse, they are therefore inherently unlovable. And that's not how families behave. That's not how it works in families, which is why sometimes those who've been harmed go back time and time and time again. And until we start having the conversation about love, because that's what's really going on here, even if it's not functional or helpful, sometimes toxic, unless we start having the conversations at that level, ain't nothing going to change. And we're just going to keep bringing those children into care.
How do we remind each other of our humanity? How do we use that love to tap into what that individuality is that we've each got? And how do we make sure that the other, whichever other that is that we're with, knows that we can put them first, even if we haven't got the capacity to?
People come into caring professions in order to give that love, to do something right, and sometimes feel they spend a lot of time pushing buttons and filling in functional forms and what have you, and that we need to think more about, wow, look at those people that have been somewhere, done something, and what they're now giving back.
I was never asked what my hopes and dreams were of being a parent. I had hopes and dreams, like I had all these, visions of, doing all these great things with my children, going abroad, doing all these, and I will never ever get to do any of those things, ever. Like, it's just not going to happen. When was I asked? When was I asked what my hopes and dreams are? Never. And that's what we need to pull back to care, to love, to act.
Things we are doing don't lead to that. Talk about the connectedness of us all and the collectiveness of us all. I don't want to be in that system, and I want to redesign that system.
If you want to be represented differently on the agenda, if you want to participate differently, if you want to pipe up and try and take something in a different direction, then try. That's really part of the thing.
When we become carers, which is a movement of carers, we become activists. You become an activist and you start to challenge what you're talking about. And then when you start to care for people, they become activists and they can challenge and ask for more.
We think we know what it's like to recover, and we don't. The only thing we know about is how to treat things. That's it. We don't know how it is, what it means to recover, go on from there. The only people who do know what it's like to recover from something or to recover from an injury or an illness is someone who's been through it. So unless you've lost a leg, you don't have a clue what it's like to recover from that. And so the part that we do now is to try and bring people together.
I've been working with family group conferences for 30 years, and I think they're magical and extraordinary things. And I suppose to love is to act is the essence of them. And I'm interested in talking about love, and have been for a few years now, because it's quite difficult to talk about in a professional sense, but I think extremely important, because it is quite powerful, possibly the most powerful thing which we engage with.
I went to visit her. Well, I had a discussion with the social worker, and then I went to see Alice. And then I started in English, speaking to her. And then at some point she said to me, "Are you from Ghana?" And I said, "Yes." And then she just switched to Tree. It's not Ashanti, it's Tree. People who are from Ashanti area speak Tree. I just happen to know how to speak that language because I'm not from that area in Ghana, but I can speak Tree. So when she switched and we started speaking, she never forgave me for that. She said, "Next time you see anyone from Ghana, you must always speak your language." And I said, "Okay."
It's that degree of being human and being lateral. It's the relationship that counts, and the relationship involves actually at the right times breaking the rules and doing something a little bit weird.
I speak to people on the street, on the bus stop, in the toilet, I don't care. And I'm looked at as if I'm crazy. I'm not crazy, I like to talk. So, having sometimes by someone telling you everything about them, it's not because they're crazy or there's something wrong with them. Sometimes they just don't have anyone to talk to. Actually, love and compassion is quite radical. If we as helpers or servers, whatever you want to call yourself, do it with love and compassion, you don't have to get it right. You don't have to have an answer. But love and compassion will connect you, and it will help that person begin to trust you. That's what has changed this earth. Love and compassion, To love is to act, truly.
We say we want this to be a better borough place where everyone has the chance to succeed and nobody is left behind and everybody has a voice. You can't say that and then say, except where we're doing the difficult things, and being ready to hear the things that you don't want to hear, and respecting the people who are willing to speak truth to power, as Clarissa has this afternoon and has with us.
You don't know what the person's been through. Have they got help? Have they counseled themselves? Or how many tears they've shed to finally be at one with themselves and willing to put themselves out there. So to me, I think connection is more powerful than anyone thinks. And sometimes, from my experience, I've had to disconnect from everything just to realise what connection was real.
Listening to everyone speaking today, it seems like a big thing for connection. Well, you have to be vulnerable to connect, to truly connect with someone. And I just wish there was some way of teaching that or encouraging that or guiding a number of people, because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who would like to be more vulnerable, more connected.
It's that action there of making a change to acknowledge there's something wrong. You need to address that.
I've got a couple of road sweepers that come to my flats, and they're just, one of them's quite old, bless his little heart, and he's so accommodating. I can't come outside my house if there's a spider web or a spider hanging there. So he gets up and he brushes, lady, brushes. And I always buy him an Easter egg and a card, and I always buy him a Christmas present and a card, and near enough gets on his knees, and I think, oh, bless him. And me postman, and obviously you and your mob. So I just think little acts like that go a long, long way, and you never, as you said, you never know what people have at home.
Leland Rufio and Moana Erawira, both social workers who are working in the community, not in government, and they came with a completely fresh perspective on how this should be done, how it could be done. And they set out going out to community, talking to families, talking to children, talking to Māori social workers about the ways that they were practicing and working sort of under the radar and around the organisation to connect with families, having to break quite a few rules to get the work done in a culturally appropriate way.
What's happened in most places in the UK is that peer-to-peer support has been promoted. Parents are trained to help other parents going through what they've gone through. That's a great thing. And those peer workers should be paid a living wage to do their work. They're experts by experience. They know what needs to be done. They should be paid for their work. In addition, parents need to be trained and supported to be activists to change policy. You can't just help individuals. The line of people needing help will be as long in 5 years as it is now. You have to change the system. In New York, everything changed. We didn't just have peer-to-peer support. We changed how things were evaluated. We changed who had decision-making. We changed the funding. And parents brought about all those changes. That needs to be done here. When I went and spoken, as I mentioned, a dozen different places. One of the first places was Telford. There's the head of social services or social work in Telford is a social worker named Louise Sprague. And she led this discussion, and at the end of this effort to reform, to talk about parent advocacy, she had everybody in the audience come up to the front and say what you would do, what you would commit to change the child welfare system.
Your love is medicine, and I've been waiting my whole life for you. When you are so happy to be alive that you could scream, and you do, it felt like that.